Ben Chavarria, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm good, man. How you doing, DJ?
Man, I'm good, dude.
I'm excited.
First off, this is the first episode of hopefully one of many of our series of Tequila Talk. You were actually one of two of my first guests, and we haven't been in here since then, and that's been over a year and a half ago.
Yeah, who would have thought that the world would just split like it has? And I couldn't even have predicted it. You know, I mean, we were just, hey, we came in, we're fine, everything's good, and then all of a sudden now our whole, even how we go to the grocery store do anything, is different, and I don't even know if I could even go back to how things were before because I forgot what it was like.
I know it's been it's kind of a breath of fresh air to actually being able to interact with people. You know, when we've been able to do this, but I'm just saying, like outside of this scenario, it's been interesting for everything to kind of infections to kind of go down and stuff, vaccination out, and people actually being able to mingle again, and we can actually go brush shoulders.
Well, I got to tell you what, I'm so proud of you for this program this thing that you've done. I remember when we first talked about it, you said, I'm putting a podcast together. I'm like, dude, that sounds great. And your first guest was Will, or I call him Donnie, Will and myself. Yeah. And it's so funny when you look, you got like Will who has gone on and he's got his own podcast now and his own, his own line of clothing. And I'm just trying not to die 3 times a night from sleep apnea. So, your range of guests, nobody can say you've got a type, that you want any kind of set guest. But I have something for you. Okay. Because not only you talked about tequila. I'm like, that's my thing. There's a brand of, what's my favorite type of tequila? Corralejo, right. So one of the things I love about Corralejo is their glasses. Okay. So I made this for you. This is a bottle that I made into a glass.
Holy shit, with my logo on it.
And there's your logo on it,
dude,
for the first episode of Tequila Talk.
Holy shit, that's badass, dude.
Now, if you wash it, the back label's probably going to come off.
Yeah, but no, man, that's badass.
Or use
this will be hand washed.
You can use it as a Catholic candle, whatever you want to do, man. I mean, it's you put the Virgin Mary on this or something, But I love the reason I keep those bottles is because I like them, and they're very strong. Yeah, I mean that's a badass glass,
and
it's a great glass. Yeah, you put a lot of stuff in it.
Man, thank you so much, bro.
You're
I appreciate
welcome, man.
it. That's
awesome.
I'm so proud of you. I wasn't. You said you had me something. I had no idea what it was going to be, but I wasn't planning on something like that. That's amazing. Thank you, dude.
You're very welcome. You're welcome. I did it in my studio. So.
Dude, that's badass. I mean, I didn't realize those bottles were that thick.
Yeah. They cut, and that's the only reason I really like them too. I mean, you can't take some of these bottles. You can't cut because they're just too thin. Yeah, they're just too small. But that's a good handmade glass from Mexico.
Well, real quick, so it's been a year and a half since we've sat down. A lot of the listeners and viewers have no idea who you are because when we started it, I mean, it was it was horrible. I mean, it was good. It was a good show, but it was raw and not great compared to what we have now. We're still learning. But so real quick backstory before we start all this funness. Let's get a real good summary of you because I want people to know who you are because I love you because you're so cultured, man. You're Hispanic. You grew up in Hawaii. You're an artist. You've been in tons of different industries, and in a rock band.
Yeah. Well, God. So honestly, with me, there's never just one thing that I do. I don't know if it's ADD or what, but it's always been. I have to do things. Sometimes that means I don't finish some things, so that's kind of bad. Every now and then I'll have like half the room tiled. And, my wife is just like, when are you going to finish the other half? Well, I have to finish this other project. But I work with my wife's family. I married my wife 26 years ago on the 11th, so a week ago. A week ago.
Happy late anniversary.
Yeah, thank you. We didn't know idea it was going to last that long either. No, I'm just kidding. I met my wife. She already had 2 daughters, so I actually married 3 women the day I got married. Yeah. I married her, my oldest daughter Chelsea, and my youngest daughter Lindsay, and then we had Sage together. And all my kids are just, they're fantastic. My oldest daughter is a jet engine mechanic for Southwest. My middle daughter is a nurse, Willis Knighton, and then my son Sage, he works for Ferrari in Dallas.
Hell yeah, dude!
And I'm so proud of all of them, and they've all got their college degrees. They all got their degrees and certifications for their field of work. And I have a grandson, my Butterbean, who I love to death, and I used to think, people say, being a parent, a grandparent is so much better. It is, but it's also work because you don't want that kid to be that kid in Walmart or Toys R Us. So you're like, okay, you know what? I would leave this to your parents, but I'm going to have to whoop your butt for this one because I need you to be a good person. You know, I don't want you to be somebody who people look at them and go, you know, why didn't that thing? And so I've done lots of different things. I am a musician. I'm still a musician. I still play professionally. I work with my in-laws at the Laser's Edge. We do laser printer toner cartridges, remanufacturing, recycling. So we're very green. So all those, because you see tons of toner cartridges and lots of things thrown away. We actually take them apart, put all new parts in it, like a transmission. You basically rebuild it all, and then we sell locally. My father-in-law was one of the first 6 people, I think, in the country that started doing it. Yeah. And so it's been a great opportunity, a great business. We work with family. I work with my wife. I've done other things. I've managed golf properties. I've had a franchise, a mobile auto body franchise that I had for a while. So there's a lot of different things that I've done. But I'm kind of at that age now where I'm like, I'm tired. I don't want to do. I don't want to do it. So like when I see Donnie doing stuff like he does, I'm like, good for you. You know, good for you. I'm not. I can't start over again. So that's us and that's me. And I love to be creative. I hate being idle. Yeah. You know, I don't like not doing something, and so you know that's. Well,
you left something out when you said you're a musician. You opened for Ozzy Osbourne in Hawaii. Am I correct?
Yes, I was a drum tech for a band in Hawaii, and we were so trying to get that gig, and we ended up getting a gig, and I was able to. I set up all the drums and the sound equipment and everything like that, and I did the sound check for it. But I'm gonna tell you the coolest thing about the whole thing was the drummer Randy Castillo, the late Randy Castillo, who unfortunately passed away. From Albuquerque, and so we kind of have new people in common, family-wise. Mm-hmm. And he just was a wonderful guy. And we met Ozzy, and when I met Ozzy, I'm like, okay, I do not want to be in this business that long. And but the coolest thing was Zakk Wylde. Yeah. Okay, this was back when he was no shirt, bell bottoms, no shoes, and he stood on the stage and he did his sound check and he did No More Tears, and it was just him and he was singing, and I was like, this is the cool. I was sitting there just in one of the chairs just watching it, doing this is the coolest thing I have ever seen. And I had the all access pass, so we spent time with him and talked to him, and I actually had a chance to hold Zakk Wylde's Bullseye Les Paul, because he was doing restringing. He had a guitar tech, but he didn't have him restringing his stuff. He was restringing his guitars, and he was the coolest down to earth guy. And so it was a really neat experience as far as musically, and I always love, every time I go to a concert, I always love sitting as close as I can to the stage, off to the side, because I like watching them set up. Mm-hmm. I like, when I go see Disturbed, or I go see, I've seen them twice, I love them. I love watching the backside, the technical part of it. When the drape is up, before it drops, I like looking behind and seeing everybody doing the work, because I know what it takes to do all that work. Yeah. And that's, for me, that's the peek behind the curtain. So I love that.
Yeah, there's a lot. People don't realize there's a lot that goes into any showcase performance. There really is, whether it be stand up or a concert. I mean, there's so many moving parts, and that stuff just be turned up really quick, and turned down really quick. And it's insane how much work that is. Yeah, nobody sees that. They don't appreciate it unless they see the back end of it.
I went to Rock in Rio in Vegas in 2015, and I saw Metallica. But Linkin Park played before them, and there was a couple of bands played before them, and it was just it was very weird. It was a weird scenario because you had all these different stages and people playing, but the headliner, of course, for the event was Metallica. And Linkin Park came on, and I'd never seen them live. I kind of listened to their stuff a little bit, but never really was a fan. Yeah. But when I saw them perform live, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, there's multiple bands like that. I've seen some that I hate on tape, and then I see them live, and I'm like, they're amazing. I mean, it happens that way. Well, so you grew up in Hawaii most of your life, right?
Well, actually, I grew up all over the world. I lived in Italy, in New Mexico.
That's right. You did live in Italy. That's right.
Italy.
Yes.
I grew up in Italy, if you could call it that. Okay. I became a man in Hawaii, but I grew up in Italy.
That's a hell of a place to become a man at, man.
It is because especially if you're not having to if you live with your parents, that's kind of good. Yeah. But it's a very, very expensive place to live. People don't understand. I was like, oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, it is. But you know what? A gallon of milk is $8. A gallon of gas is ridiculous.
You're surrounded by water. It makes the price of everything's going to double.
And there's so much traffic. Oh my God! People complain about Airline Drive. Yeah, that's just a stoplight. Okay, seriously, it's just a stoplight. You can wait 3 minutes, but Hawaii is just it's such just so densely populated in one area, and when you get to the outskirts, it's really nice. But very few people live out there because everything is done.
Where were you? Where were you at in Italy?
I lived in Ostuni, which was in the southern. If you look at it, if you look at the boot, it's at the spur.
Okay.
It's at the heel where the spur is, and it was just a little base. And we actually lived 20 miles from the base in a town called Ostuni, which means white city in Italian. And I fell in love with food. Man, I fell in love with food there. And I fell in love with the culture, and I didn't really appreciate the culture till I left it.
Right.
You know, the fact that they all get up early in the morning, they go, they do their work, they go home, they have lunch, they spend time, they take a nap. Because when I first got there, I'm like, why the heck is everybody closed from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock? What's wrong with these people? 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, they open up again, they have dinner, they stay open until 10 o'clock.
Okay.
I didn't realize that they valued living and life more than they did making a living and trying to get to the next level of life. I mean, you see a lot of old Italians, and they don't look worn down.
Well, part of that's somewhere in Italy, right? Is the blue zone, right? Where the all those people are like, there's a conglomerate of people that live over the age of 90 to 100. I don't know if you know about that.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's insane. Well, I saw that on some documentary.
Well,
it's crazy, but it's like eating all those carbs and stuff every day and sleeping a lot. I guess does pay off.
Their food, though, the funny thing is, like, their bread is not like our bread.
Right.
You know, I mean, I would eat rolls every day and put, prosciutto in it and with a Fanta and just, just coming outside of my mouth. And my metabolism was a lot higher then, but still, you didn't feel the same way you do here.
Well, we have more processed shit and everything.
Oh god, yeah, I miss the earthy flavor.
So what age did you leave there?
I left there when I was 17.
Okay.
I think I was 17, and I moved to Hawaii and I lived there until I lived there for about 7 years. And I graduated from high school there. I went to college there. Well, I say I went to college. I was enrolled in college there, and I worked a couple different places. And I'm always the kind of person where I don't always put a whole lot of stock into just one thing. And it's like I admire a lot of people who say, okay, I went to college for this. I got out of college. I did that. I did this for 25, 30 years of my life. I retired. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I kind of admire people who can do that, because with me, it's always my mind is making me wanting to do something, like the glass. I'm like, the first time I drank one of those bottles, I go, okay, this would make a wonderful glass. How can I? So I go, I can't buy them empty. I have to buy them full. So I got to do something with the tequila. Okay, so really, it's the means to an end. The tequila.
Hell yeah.
And but so I lived there. I worked there. I met my wife there. We got married there. It was wonderful. It was just like the 13 of us, no family members. Nothing against family members. I love them, but sometimes when you have a wedding, you're doing it for other people. And we had already decided, look, we're doing a small thing. It was beautiful. I love it. I would not change a thing about it, because it was. Now, we did pay to get a professional photographer and videographer so we could send the videos to everybody.
And that was a while back too. I mean, so you're ahead of the game there.
Yeah, that was. Yeah,
most people weren't doing that. They do it now. That's a staple now. But back then, nobody was doing anything like that.
I just told her, just tell me where I need to be. I'll be there. And so, but I mean, she's the best thing that ever happened to me. I couldn't imagine getting as far as I have without her. And not just because she supports me, but because she lets me fail. Because some people go, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. She doesn't do that. She may think it. Many times she may think it, but she won't say it. And I'll come show her something. I'm doing something. She goes, okay. And, is it done yet? I'm like, no, it's not done yet. I'm just showing it to you. I just want you to see it. Oh, shit, it's not done yet. I need to go fix it. Type of thing. And so, but she's my biggest supporter. My family, I love them to death. I love spending time with them. And so, if you say, Ben, what do you do? Whatever. Yeah. Whatever I really want to or feel like doing.
I mean, that's good. I mean, I feel like everyone should be to that point in their life. And the way the world spins now, you have the ability to do that, man. I mean, it's not like there's so many opportunity. There's so much access to information. You literally can teach yourself anything. And you don't have to, settle for that.
Yeah. Because we have people that call us and go, oh, my printer's doing this or that. And I got on YouTube and I saw it. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Well, did you learn to play guitar while you were doing that too?
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
But I will say this about the technology, and this is one thing about your program and a lot of programs. Everybody has a voice now.
Yeah.
Some voices people don't need to hear. Some voices need to stay in the basement. But there's such a demand for people being able to get exactly what they want when they want it. So for somebody to actually tune in and listen to this or watch it, I want to thank them because that's their time, and they could be doing something else.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like, I mean, this thing is when you first come in here, the very first episode, I had no fucking idea what I was doing, and then you guys were in here, and I was just like, okay. At first, I was like, I got to have 2 guests because I don't know if I can carry a conversation for an hour. And now I'm at the point now where I'm having conversations I try to cut it off at an hour only because, I'd love to have a 2 or 3 hour podcast, but at the same time, I feel like keeping it between an hour and a half, people are able to kind of listen to it in one stretch. Yeah. If you do it too long, it's like, who has 3 or 4 hours to listen to a whole? Right. So, I mean, that's kind of where we've landed. But, man, it's so insane. I mean, I've had this conversation multiple times, but, like, I started this thing because I was like, oh, it's going to be something cool I can integrate into business, but not really talk about business, but bring business people on. Right. And I realized real quick that shit was boring. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to talk to real people in all facets of life, and then we can, kind of compare and contrast and have conversations. So,
and you've done that, and that's one thing I like. Because I look at your guests, and I've even told you, I'm like, dude, you're swinging for the fences now. Yeah. Because I mean, you're getting people that, how did you get that person? I mean, and you have such a wide array of people
but
too.
Dude, you can't be afraid to hear no.
You know what?
I ask. I'm not even gonna lie to you. This is no secret to this, and anyone listening, watching, whatever, I don't care. I ask probably 10 or 12 people a day that I am interested in abroad, not locally, if they'd like to be on the show.
Right.
And probably 10% of those people actually see it, and probably another 5% of those people actually answer. Yeah. So, like, it's one of those things. It's like, I'm not scared to be told no. Yeah. What do I have to lose?
That you know what? I will say this. That has always scared the hell out of me. Not that people say no, but that because I take such a personal, like, if you didn't like this, even if you lied to me.
Oh, dude, I love it.
But the thing about it is I am the type of person, I put everything I have into what I do.
Yeah.
So sometimes for somebody like me, a no is not a no against your product. It's a no against you because you're the person that produced the product. You're the person behind the product. And it took me a long time to realize, okay, they're not telling me no. They're saying either no, not at this moment. No, I don't honestly have use for what you have to offer. But that has probably been my biggest fear throughout my whole life is the word no.
Well, what's been interesting is I've asked quite a few people, and they're front-facing individuals on social media, but they don't have much of a voice as far as getting into their real life. And I feel like some of them, and I have had this experience with some of them, didn't know if they feel comfortable doing it or not because this is something different. Like, to talk about what you really believe and be like, you can pull 10-minute sound bites out of anything, but to sit down and have a conversation for an hour and a half, 2 hours, you're gonna get the real person. No one can bullshit that long, especially without a script. No, I'm not giving you questions. I've had guests say, "Can you send me what type of questions you ask?" I'm like, "Shit, I don't ask any questions."
Well, actually, if I knew who you were,
I just sit down, man. I'm like, if you have something I'm interested in, I want to talk about, let's sit down and figure it out, dude.
Exactly. Let's talk.
All right, so tell me about these tequilas. Okay, so I brought 2, but you brought 2, and yours are way nicer than mine because I love tequila, but not as much as you do.
Okay, now see, and I like what you're doing here because we're bringing awareness to tequila. Okay, because tequila is like a pit bull.
I don't know. Nobody talks about tequila.
Everybody's got a bad experience with the tequila, but what's always funny is when you ask people like, oh, you see people say, oh, what drink, said you're never going to drink again. It's always tequila.
It's always tequila.
And I'm like, okay, you know what? And with a lot of people, tequila is like being a Dallas Cowboys fan. You either are or you're not. Yeah. And but with me, I have found that I love tequila because there's such a variety of it, and I have found that a lot of people, the reason that they hate tequila or had a bad experience with it is because they don't understand it. Just like a pit bull. You don't go stick your face in it. You be nice, let it come to you. Yeah. Let the tequila come to you. Yeah. And you don't drink anything else but the tequila. Okay, you don't sit there in a room with 3 other dogs and then you bring the pit bull in. You sit with the pit bull and you become acquainted, you become friends, you let them lick all over your face, and that's it. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like tequila, but they start drinking tequila after they've had 7 of something else.
Well, I mean, I spent my younger years drinking beer, vodka, and whiskey. Whiskey first, beer second, or whiskey and beer for the longest, and then vodka as I try to be a little cleaner, clean up just some vodka and some water and a little bit of lime. And over the past 2 years, almost 3 years, I made a shift to just tequila, man, and I drink it. It's clean, and everyone's different, but I don't have a hangover. I'm also not shooting shitty Jose either. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things like people associate a tequila shot, like even a shot of Patron, they associate that with I'm never drinking tequila again because that was a shot. But typically, isn't it always the shot that makes you sick? Whether it's Fireball, tequila,
and it's that last shot because Jameson, once you taste the tequila, you taste the tequila. Yes. You're like, okay,
yes.
You know, well, dude, if the 9 shots you had of the other stuff,
you're already on edge. You're already on edge, and
so people, it gets a bad rap. But that's all. I don't drink beer. I don't drink whiskey. I don't drink. And honestly, I never really drank. Every now and then, if, in a social setting.
Yeah, let's talk about that because you told me not too long ago. I don't think we talked about it on air ever, but like you didn't start drinking until you were
I was 40.
That's crazy. So what?
So I got a lot of liver left. I got a lot of damage. I got to catch up.
So what was your reason for not that whole time and then deciding to?
Well,
I've been around Hispanic.
I've been around being Hispanic. I've been around a lot of alcoholics.
Okay,
and I've never really. I've seen people, and I've seen how people act when they get drunk.
Yeah,
and everybody always talked about. I'd be out to dinner or something, or we'd be out, and all of a sudden we'd see these crazy people acting up and people fighting, or I'd be at Thanksgiving and people would start fighting and the cops would be called. And so for me, alcohol to me was always a fire starter.
Yeah,
makes sense. It was never something to be enjoyed. It was something that they did, and then they became bad people, or they became angry. Nobody ever became. And I'm not saying this enlightens people. All I'm saying is the reason I didn't is because I never liked the effects that it would have on people.
Yeah.
And then one day I was at lunch, and I said, well, I'm going to have a margarita because they said the place that had it was good. They had good margaritas. They were clean margaritas. I had one. I was like, you know what? This is not bad. It's not a bad thing. And then I started experimenting. Like I'd go and I'd get like, oh, is this a good tequila or is that a good tequila? And not a lot of people know what is a good tequila and what's not a good tequila.
No, they do
and
not.
I ended up learning just the basics, kind of like the ABCs of tequila, And I'm even like when I'm in an aisle looking at stuff and I see somebody next to me and they're like, they have no idea. I'm like, okay. I said, what are you looking for? They're like, well, I said, okay. Well, let me ask you this. Do you just want to get a little bit loose, have a good time, or do you want to talk to God? Because there's a lot of different things we can do. And so when I started, trying different types, I would see not only were they different, but how they affected me was different.
Okay.
I could drink one brand and I was like super happy. I could drink another brand and I would cry.
Yeah.
And it was really weird. But I could always taste the different, notes and stuff because I don't mix it with anything. I don't pour stuff in it because to me it's like, no, because I actually enjoy the taste of it. Mm-hmm. Now, again, I like the byproduct as well, but I enjoy the flavor. I enjoy how everyone is different, and I enjoy the craftsmanship of it. Yeah.
There's such a misconception for alcohol consumption. So like me, of course, growing up, started drinking way too early. We would drink beer and, party and get shit faced and fight and act stupid and all that. But like, as I've gotten older, I don't drink near as much, maybe once a week, typically, if that, and unless there's a special occasion, so on and so forth.
Thursday.
So on and so forth. Like today, St. Patrick's Day, why not? Everyone's having whiskey, we'll have tequila. But like I've noticed that, we attribute those things to those the drunk asshole uncles that stay drinking Budweiser all day long, or the person that says don't let him have any whiskey because he's and all those things, and it's like a bad omen. My deal is like, man, do what you want to do. Like, of course we're not out here to try to get shit faced and
that's the thing. Drink responsibly, don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
But and everybody's got their vice. And the funny thing is, everybody says somebody else's vice is worse than their own.
Of course.
What if you eat too much?
Yep.
What if there's lots of things.
What if you have sex too much?
I don't know. Tell me about their rules. No, I'm just kidding. But but everybody does have something. I think a lot of it depends on, does it control you?
Yeah.
Because if it controls you, and there was a point in time where it didn't control me, but I always would think about, okay, which one am I going to get next? It was like a little adventure. It's like, I felt like I was I kind of felt like I was Dora the Explorer, Ben the wino, and I was always trying to find not a different type of effect, but just the different flavors and how they pull them out, and I don't know if it was the artist in me or the person in me, and I love being an artist, but the sad part is I've got 2 paintings I'm working on now that I've spent over a year on them.
Yeah.
And my wife I've been doing one for a dear friend of mine, a tribute piece for him. And my wife has come into my studio like many times and looked at it and she said, "Are you ever going to finish that?" And I said, "You know what? I don't I don't feel it. I don't. See, I've got it all drawn out.
I appreciate that. I've noticed that working with my business partner Nick West. You know, he's a master. He has a master in arts, and he's been doing illustration work for 25, 30 years. But I understand that working with an artist on a daily basis, it's like, hey man, we got some logo designs we need to get done, but hey, no, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling creative today, and it's going to be bullshit. Wait a couple days. Let me find my flow. Yeah. And it's the same in anything else, though. I mean, I feel like you have to be feeling it. You know? And
I always paint in acrylics, but this one's going to be in oils because I've seen some work in oils, and I want it to be in oils. And so part of my apprehension is like I don't know oils as well. So if I do this piece, if it's I've actually taken a knife to a piece before because I'm like, nope. Can't do it. I don't like it. And I've actually felt better than trying to take that. I guess that's maybe how some people feel in a bad marriage or something. They say, you know what, we're going to cut the ties and we're just going to be friends and we do this. And I kind of understood, but I never understood it. But, you know, when you spend the years of your life on something and you spend time on it, that's your most valuable thing in this world is your time, you know? And when you decide, okay, it's it. And when I destroyed it, I can't go back to it. Yeah. I can't try to fix something that is just not there, and I've done that in the past, and so you know, I promise, Gil, if you're listening, bro, I promise I'm gonna finish your piece, but and you're gonna love it, I promise. So,
all right, well, this tequila. Okay. Tell me about this one, the first one.
All right, so when you first talked about this, I'm like, oh, okay, yes, and you said we need to try tequilas we've never tried and see what we think. So I did some research, obviously, and I just didn't go down thrifty. I got online, I was looking at a couple different things, and I found what you know the Wine Magazine and all this stuff said was the top one, and then I also found what the people said was their favorite. So I got two different types. Now I got this stuff right here is called the bad stuff. This is $280 a bottle for the big bottle.
Okay.
And I'm like, I love you, DJ, but I don't love you that much.
No, I wouldn't expect you to.
But I've heard incredible things about this, so I wanted to try it. So this one right here, we'll try first and just.
And you haven't tried it yet?
I haven't tried. No, okay. I haven't tried any of these. And dude, you got to tell you how hard it is for me to look at these bottles in my studio. I'm like, oh my god.
You told me like 2 weeks ago. I just got these a couple days ago.
Yeah, I went to Dallas and got these, and I'm like, oh my god. I mean, I should get 2 bottles, just try. But then that wouldn't have been. I wanted my reaction. You know, So, and then I bought this. I got this one called Volcán de mi Tierra, which means the volcano of my land, and I love the bottle too. It's got like a little volcano inside there.
Shit, okay,
see that? That's cool. And the weird thing about this one, now a little background on tequila. You have different types of tequila, and I will just say to people, if you're gonna get a tequila, always ask for top shelf.
Okay.
At the bar, never, because if they pull it out of a plastic jug, you're gonna be sick. And then also make sure that if you're just buying tequila on your own, make sure it's 100% blue agave, not made with. You make sure it's 100% because when they make it, when it says made with, they use other things to make it sugars and stuff like that, and that's what gets people sick. The 100%, and of course, if you drink too much of this, you're going to get sick. No matter what you do something too much, you're going to get sick. But this is not the type that you're going to get sick every morning. You're going to wake up with a headache. Right. This is actually the stuff that's the pure, you know, stuff, and it's worth it. So always get 100%. Don't ever get the mixed with or blended with 100%. And so, but this one is actually an Añejo, which is aged, I think, 3 years in a barrel. Okay. And normally comes out dark brown, like a whiskey or a bourbon or something. Right. Well, after that, they take this and they put it through a third filtration system that, clarifies it and makes it more of a silver.
Still
again.
Has a taste, but looks like
it's still got a taste. Yeah, and even in fact, and that's the funny thing. Like I even printed this out because I didn't want to get it wrong. But like the Volcán, it says a fusion of aromas: tobacco, dried fruits, chocolate, vanilla, and cooked agave come together to form this unique and elegant tequila. Robust flavors of caramel, tobacco, and dark chocolate, while finishing with a silky permanence in the mouth.
All I hear is chocolate, man.
And I'm thinking, you know what? And it says guaranteed to make the drawers drop. So, you know, as long as that's what we're doing. But
that's the people's review.
Yeah. So, but the bad stuff. So this is the first one. This is the best of class winner, best in show, everything.
This is an Añejo too, right?
Yeah. This is an Añejo.
So anything top shelf is going to be. I mean, the top tier is always going to be an Añejo.
It's going to be most like Añejo because it takes longer to make it.
Right.
You know, it takes 3 years instead of 1. Mm-hmm. So.
Oof. Here we go.
We'll just taste it. All right. So we'll see what the bad stuff, how this is. Cheers.
Cheers. God, that's smooth. That is, look, that's not like, just if you're listening and can't see that,
Wow.
You cannot do that with, and I'm not dogging Patron. Hey, one day if they call me and say, hey, I'll give you a bottle, okay, whatever. But I'm saying you can't do that with that, man. That right there is...
Wow. You remember when you were a kid and you tasted cough medicine for the first time?
Yeah.
But you know what? It's got a nice, rich flavor. It doesn't burn, but it's warm.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people are like, oh, tequila makes it burns. No, this doesn't burn. It's very smooth. It doesn't have a lot of smell. It's got a good aroma, but it's very smooth, and and again, these are sipping tequilas, so they're not shooting tequilas. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm gonna get 5. You don't take 5 shots of a $300 tequila. You sip it.
We're gonna take shots of this last one I had because I don't know if I can sip that.
Well, by then it's gonna be like,
yeah, hell yeah. So. You got into, so you didn't even try any other alcohols. You just you went straight into tequila.
Well, I mean, I've tried beer before because obviously beer is like, I never understood what people loved about it. Like, oh, I'm gonna have a cold beer, and
me either, man. It bloats me, makes me feel full, makes me sweat, makes me pee a lot.
And I've never liked the flavor.
Yeah, none of them taste amazing.
A lot for me is its flavor, and a lot of people are like, oh, I don't care because I like how I feel, or how it makes me feel afterwards, and it's cheap, and I just yeah. But I've never seen anybody that drinks a lot of beer,
unless, not to cut you off, you're the 7th tap, because Jose, a good friend of mine,
in Mexico, in Shreveport,
we talked about possibly doing a tequila aged beer. So I'm down to try that.
Okay. So now you want to mix?
Hey,
you're going to mix St. Patrick's.
I'll try it.
You're going to mess with the Irish and the Mexicans.
I will try it. You could get me to try that more than just going to get one of those.
But I don't know if it's the hops. I don't know if it's because that whole. It's just there's a flavor in there I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah.
I never really liked the smell of it. I never liked the smell of beer, and so I prefer. I've tried like vodka before, and I never understood. I mean, vodka to me was like I couldn't do vodka. When I turned 21, some people that I work with took me out, and I had a Long Island iced tea.
Had you ever drank before?
I never really drank before. No. I mean, I'd say I had drunk before, but I hadn't drunk before.
Right.
Like I'd had wine or something like that at dinner, and in Italy, the drinking age is yes.
Yeah, wine's not. I mean, it's not the same as right. Us having this, so.
And so I would, what we're talking about? That's how good this
21
is, people.
First
That's
drink.
How good this is.
21 first drink.
Yeah. So I had my first drink, and I had a Long Island iced tea, and I literally remember sitting there going, okay, all right, let's dance, kind of a thing, and that was kind of fun, but it wasn't one of those things where I was like, okay, let's do it again tomorrow. It was just. And after that happened, I said to myself, okay, now I get it. Because sometimes I never understood.
Well, here's another funny thing. So, like, people always contribute tequila make your clothes fall off, that kind of thing. And then people, like, whiskey makes you mad, beer makes you tired. Like, I really want to look into those. I want to look into that stuff. I'm going to when I have some free time and say, what are the studies on this? Because I know for sure if I'm drinking this and it's in moderation like we are now, I'm in a good mood.
Yeah.
Now, 5 or 6 years ago, if I'm drinking whiskey like this, it could go either way.
Yeah.
Not in a bad mood like I'm going to be an asshole for no reason, but it just could go either way.
Right.
So it's very interesting how that works too.
And I think a lot of it has to do with biology.
Yeah.
And how your body responds to specific. Because like I said, I'm going to react different to this one than I am to this one. I'm going to react different to a silver El Jimador than I will to a silver Don Julio.
Yeah.
And there are some tequilas out there I think are overpriced, and just because they're marketed very well.
I mean, that's the name of the game, right? It may cost them $10 to make it, and they sell it for $60 or $70.
Okay.
All right.
Now we'll go ahead and put in these. Now tell me again about these glasses.
Oh man, I wasn't going to tell this story on air, but I will. Okay, so
that's the power of tequila.
Oh god,
boys
man.
And girls.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I used to frequent bars, not too much, but every now and then. And at the time, there was this girl that I was dating. Ooh, that's a lot, man. Ooh, shit.
Okay,
it's okay.
I gotta have something to take home.
It's okay. At the time, there was this girl that I'd recently split up with, and this was years ago, probably 6 or 8 years ago. And we weren't talking anymore. And there was another girl that I'd been talking to, and we were hanging out there, not really doing anything, just hanging out, standing beside her, talking to her kind of deal. But this lady's friend was there. So she proceeds to call her and say, hey, he's here with another woman. I'm like, okay, here we go. So she shows up, and I'm sitting here with this exact glass in my hand with actually not tequila, a vodka and water, and like this, and she swung at me and threw my drink in my face, and anyways, she was upset. Okay, whatever, I'm no hard feelings, no hard feelings, all water under the bridge. Anyways, that night ended, that then nothing really bad happened or anything, but she was just upset, and I get it. I kept the glass. Well, I went back to this bar. I can't remember the name of the bar, but I went back to it a couple months later, maybe even a year later, and we closed it down that night, and I didn't have anything left. I still had this glass. I was sitting there, I didn't have a drink left, and I was like, this is the exact same glass that I ended up going home with the last time, and I need a set. So the guy who owns it, I can't think of his name right now, a real nice old man. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if I had these, but if I need to go by there and drop them off like $20 to pay back for these glasses one day.
Now, question. I can smell chocolate. Tell me if you can smell a chocolate.
It definitely, yeah.
Not like a milk chocolate, but like a dark, like a cocoa.
Yeah, there's a faint hit of it mixed with the tequila. All right, are we going for it?
Let's do this. Cheers.
Oh, that one's way better. That one's better. Holy shit.
That one's got a lot more flavor.
Whew.
That one's got a ton of flavor.
Is that the one you read the crazy review on?
No, this is the one I read that everybody, that the people liked. This was the people's choice.
I taste that hint of chocolate in there.
Wow. That's got a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
I mean, this one had a punch. This one had a good punch.
No, that one had a punch, but for the price of what you said bottle, I would buy this all day long. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's it cost on something like this?
That is $70.
Yeah, all day long.
Yeah.
All day long. Like, I mean... Yeah.
Wow! Now, and they also have a couple. They have a couple lines of it. They have like a silver, and then a reposado, and then this is their top line one.
So, can you, since you're well versed in these things, can you explain the difference between silver, reposado, and you've already explained Añejo?
Yeah. Well, the silver is basically it's distilled, and that's the purest. Most of the time it's in copper pots. It's distilled. That's it. It's pure form. It's only about I think sometimes anywhere between 6 months to 9 months that it's distilled, in copper pots, and then that's your silver, that's your plain. That's a lot of people use for mixed drinks and stuff like that because it doesn't have a lot of flavor. The reposado is one that after it's silver, they put it in whiskey barrels or bourbon barrels, whatever. I've tasted some that were in wine barrels, which was very interesting.
Yeah.
But it's after that charred wood, and then they use it for bourbon or whatever, and they dump it out. All that wood has that flavor in it still. It still has that char, and so they use the silver and they put it in there and they age it normally for about a year. And then that gives it that aroma and it gives it that dark color.
Okay.
And then again, the Añejo is normally 3 years.
Well, it's interesting to me that how's that offset? Like, when did they start? How do they always keep having them? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's time. It has to be aged. Like, where does that start? Like, just like brewing beer. Like, I mean, you don't have to age that much. But like with vodka or anything else, vodka's a little quicker, I know. But like whiskey for sure. Like, I mean, it's one of those things where it has to be aged. So like. You start. I guess you just have to offset it.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, they make so much of it, and it's really interesting. If you go, there's really only about, and I'm sure I'm wrong about this, but there's one area in Mexico, it's Jalisco, Mexico, okay, and they actually it's not allowed to be called tequila unless it comes from that valley. Okay. Now it's a volcanic valley, so the volcanic ash and everything there makes the soil really vibrant. And so you have the blue agave plants. And you probably got, I don't know, maybe a dozen or more farms that do it. And then you have these companies that buy the agave, buy it, the Jimador, that the El Jimadors make, the I can't remember what it's called right now, but the basically the nut of it, of the seed of it, and that's what they make the tequila with. So you have companies like Coralejo, they have their own farm. Okay. You've got companies like Cabo Wabo. You know, you've got Sammy Hagar's brand. He buys his from another place that makes it. And in fact, if you were to get, I think Espolon is a brand. It's exactly the same as Cabo Wabo.
Well, I mean, you have like The Rock. He has his own.
Right.
He has his own crop.
And so
apparently.
so you know, but basically what it is, he found a good farm,
right,
and said, I want to buy this much of it from you. I want you guys to distill it. I want this to be how it is. And that's how, you know, there's very few places. This place, though, they do have their own. This is I get what's called a single batch, or, you know, a dedicated farm to just this. They're not selling these agaves to somebody else,
right,
to do it.
Well, it's interesting to me too how like for health reasons, of course, alcohol is probably not best for anyone, but like you have wine, you ferment your grapes or your whatever fruit it may be, and then your vodka is your potato, which is crazy to even think about, and then your whiskey's your corn, and so it's like, okay, if you're on a low carb diet, I feel like tequila's the go-to.
It is. It
comes from agave plant. There's no root.
I read a lot of good things about it. Now, again, everything in moderation. Yeah. But still, you know, you've got people who, you know, if we were to just drink this plain straight like this, you know, I can't say yes, it's got health benefits. Isn't that beautiful? Yes. It's got amazing flavor. It almost tastes like a chocolate sundae.
It really has a chocolate flavor, and I'm not a sweet person, but it's not like you described. It's not a chocolate like
yeah, it's that bitter chocolate that you didn't like when you were a kid. Exactly.
Yeah, that's the shit that you picked out of the little heart box and put over there to the side. You know what I'm saying?
Dark. And in fact, I love chocolate with chili. I love chocolate and chili. Oh,
well, I've seen people put sugar in chili before too.
I love chocolate and chili.
I mean, I eat chili with cornbread. They say that's like a northern thing, but I like it better that way than with rice or whatever maybe.
That's a good one. That is really good.
It's really good. That one's going on the list for sure. Yeah. That will be on the list of hey, if we're chatting, we're gonna have a bottle of that.
And the thing is too is when you think about it, you don't have to add anything to this.
We are literally drinking. This is room temperature.
Yeah, it's room temperature. It's not even chilled.
Which is insane for me to even like. I'm not gonna lie. When I was driving over here, I was like, I'm gonna get ready to get the studio set up today, and I was like, man, I don't know if I can drink all this damn tequila straight. You know, I usually mix it with a little bit of, you know, mineral water and some lime juice or something, a little bit. You know, and there's some I can drink straight, but I was like, man, damn it. But then again, I'm thinking of the cheaper stuff. Like, I'm not gonna drink a Humidor or a Saza, you know, straight.
Exactly. Yeah, you're not gonna do Juarez.
Yeah.
But anyway, so a lot of people, they have what's called mezcal, which is it's not tequila, but it is an agave plant, but it's not from Jalisco. It's not from that specific area. And those are the ones that you'll find the worm in.
They have a smoky flavor too, though, right?
Yeah, there's a little bit different flavor. Yeah. But in order for it to be, quote unquote, identified by the National Tequila, you know, vatos, it's got to be it's got to be from that specific area. So.
Yeah, because the "don't eat the worm" phrase comes from the stuff that really isn't that great, in my opinion.
Yeah. And have you eaten the worm?
Man, I think I did a long time
I did
ago.
one time. I did it.
But it was the end of a bottle of a Monte Albin.
Oh
God.
Okay. So
I was like, this is some high dollar shit. It's $15. I was like, I was fancy, man. It was like a fifth of it.
I ate the worm one time, and I was surprised. It was almost like a grape that popped, you know, but it didn't have, you know, no wormy flavor or anything like that. It tasted obviously.
Well, it has no hallucinogenic properties to it or anything. People say that shit. I'm just like, man, whatever.
Yeah. All right, so what'd you bring?
All right, so you're gonna have to pronounce this because your dialect is just quite a bit better than mine.
Okay, Tequila El Distilador.
Okay, so this is a Añejo.
A double barrel Añejo.
Yep.
So they took it out of one barrel and stuck it in another one.
Yep. So I'm not well versed in these things like you are, but I do look and see. Okay, well the price point's a little higher than the normal, and this looks like it'd be pretty good, and it's in a black bottle. So
and it's got a limited edition number. So you know
all that stuff.
On QVC.
Yeah.
And it's 750, 100% black. Hecho en Mexico. This is beautiful. I love the bottle.
I mean the when the actual logo says tequila on it, it's like, okay, it's not in a plastic bottle. It's in this beautiful thick, really thick bottle.
That
and
is a beautiful bottle.
So we'll try it. Let's see here.
And this is chilled. Keep in mind this is chilled.
This is not super chilled, but it's chilled enough. Okay. It's been chilling for about 2 hours.
So you can see the difference in the color, and just the color alone is darker. Looks like a urine
I have a feeling it's not going to be as great as that. That other one literally just set the bar really high.
Yeah, I think so.
Let me finish it first.
Yeah, I know. Right? It's like, I'm going to go back to it and cleanse my palate with it.
Man, whew. I shot that and shouldn't have, but...
It's that...
Hey, Rain Energy, cherry limeade, right behind that's not bad. Just saying.
Good? Okay. I mean, honestly... I'm gonna have to go back to that one because I just
really
put
good.
a little bit in my mouth
and
it just filled it up. It was like a little.
Yeah, it
like
wets your palate. It wets your palate.
Yeah, it was like somebody dumped.
It's like when you have really good coffee, like not shitty coffee that dries your mouth out, like real good coffee that
Cheers.
All right, let's do it. Holy hell!
Whoa.
That has a bite.
Woo. You remember in the circus, the guy that did the fire like that?
Yeah, that has a bite.
That has
but it doesn't have as much of an aftertaste as the first one.
No.
It has more of a bite, but it doesn't have as much of an aftertaste.
It actually has a stronger flavor, more of a bite. It's got a smoky flavor too. It's got a smokier flavor. It's strong.
It is strong.
It's got a good strength to it. It's got a real, and I'm not sure what kind of. Now the thing it says is aged, double aged. I don't know what kind of barrels they did. If they did it in whiskey barrels, bourbon barrels.
I got a feeling it was bourbon, just the way it tastes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this one kind of the size of your mouth.
Here's my question: why are there never the macros? Why do they never put the macros, but they put the Surgeon General warning on there? I want to know the macros, man.
Honestly, seriously, do you really care?
I mean, I just would be interested to know. You know, it's one of those things. Why is your food required to have nutritional facts, but your
because it would be zero nutritional value, negative.
So this comes out. It's imported from Mexico to Agora Hills, California.
Now, I don't know if they bring. Now they might bring the tequila into
Agora Hills,
and then age
bottle it
there, and then bottle it there. I don't know, but all I know is it's probably allowed to say tequila because the actual base of it came from Jalisco.
It says, yeah. I mean, look at there.
Yeah. Produced in de la Santa Luisa, de Paso de la Gualas, de Estación Zapopan, Jalisco, Mexico. You know, and they actually have a website. So, and it's made in Mexico, so maybe they got they got the barrels from.
Who knows?
But that is that's got a lot of flavor. See, and this is the kind of thing where, if I were to drink this, I would drink it. Definitely drink it on ice.
It's not bad though.
No, it's not bad. I would probably drink it on ice, but I would have to drink it after a meal.
Yeah,
I would definitely drink it after a meal.
See, I'm not a. Do you drink tequila while you're eating food? Mm-mm. I don't either. I don't drink any alcohol when I eat food. It's like I can drink a little bit before I can eat, but when I start eating, I don't want. I can't. When people are like, "Let me have the beer and the crawfish," no, I don't. I don't eat and drink at the same time. I don't know why. I'll drink water and eat.
Right. I think a lot of time it's just because it changes the flavor of the food.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm eating.
Yeah,
I'm not drinking.
And I will say there's a few places in town that I've been to that pride themselves on their margaritas, and they're okay and they're good. And I've eaten their food with margaritas, and I've eaten their food without margaritas, and the food tastes different without a margarita. Yep. You're like, I'm sorry, you want how much for these fajitas? And so a lot of it is. I do like a tequila before dinner because. For me, because I love cooking, I'll cook Japanese
I'm glad you brought that, dude. I'm glad you brought that up because I do too. I love to cook, and I never talk about it on the show just because it never gets brought up. Like it's never been brought up before. Right. So let's do it. Let's talk.
I tell you what happened a long time ago. Honestly, a long time ago. My wife's grandmother became sick, and she had to go to a nursing home. So my wife will never ever let a person not be looked after. Okay. A dog, a cat, anything. Right. She became the advocate for her grandmother, and I loved this woman because I saw a lot of my wife learned a lot of life and how to be a mom, a grandmother from this woman. Her name was Thelma. Thelma Nix was her name, and I loved that woman and I'd love to do anything for her, but. She ended up having to go to nursing home after a certain point in her life, and then every day after work, Cheryl would go over there. And she would stay with her. She'd make sure she ate. She'd make sure she got her bath. And so Sage and I would be home. And so I would check Sage's homework, and I was like, okay, what are we going to do for dinner? So I just started cooking. I was like, okay, well, I watched the Food Channel, and I saw certain things I started doing. And I started cooking. I started doing all these different things. And I realized that one of the best ways to show that you love somebody or or to show love for anything is to prepare a meal for them.
You're very right, sir. I think that I've done more volunteer nonprofit work cooking because I enjoy it so much. But not only that, it's like people take pride in food. And a lot of people, I think people go about their lives every day and just kind of throw stuff in to make it convenient. But when you have something that someone's taken time to prepare that actually is visually attractive, and then they put it in their mouth and like, holy shit, this tastes great. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, and my grandmother in Mesilla in New Mexico, she raised 7 kids and on beans and tortillas. And every morning I would see her boiling beans, and I'd see her making the tortillas, and I'd come in and she'd have, well, no, Ma, these are flour. I like flour. I like flour.
Okay.
I love flour tortillas.
Okay.
And I would see her, the rolling, pop, 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 roll, and I can still see her now doing that. And I would come in, and as a small child, in the summertime, spending time with her, and she actually lived in an adobe house, no interior, no bathroom inside. We used to go to an outhouse. So if you had to poop at night, you better hope you La Llorona or something's not going to get you, because you're going to hold it in, or you're just going to you're going to go into bed, because it's scary at night. But she basically lived in a mud house, and she raised 7 kids on beans and tortillas. But what I remember the most was the love I could taste in her food. And when my mother passed away, by the way, she passed away about a little under a year ago. I was in South Carolina with my family, and I have an uncle who's a professor at the Ohio State University, and he loves steaks. And so my goal was, okay, I'm going to make him a steak because he's going to be the biggest critic. And so I made him a filet mignon, and I videotaped him. And he's like, it's so good. And then my aunt Bernie tasted it, and she goes, yeah, I can taste the love in that. I'm like, thank you. That's what I do. So I learned that there's ways that you can love somebody, you can show somebody, and it's by making something for them and making it the way they like to eat it. Right. My wife loves well done steak. My wife also likes filet mignon. I make my wife filets of steak that are well done. Whoa. It takes about a half hour. I do different things to it. But when she cuts into it, it's cooked all the way through. It's not dry. But that's because that's what she likes.
You're having to use some convection there. There's no way you're doing that on the grill.
I do a couple things. Give me another shot of tequila and we'll talk about it. But there's a couple things that I do to make it. But that's one of the things, and I actually consider myself, I consider that a form of art too. So when I wasn't painting.
Most definitely.
When I wasn't painting, I was doing that, and I felt that need was satisfied. That need that I had to be creative to do something. And I would make a mess, and I'd look at it, and there'd be dishes in the sink. I'm like, I'll take care of it tomorrow, or something like that. So that's kind of the downside of it.
Well, I love to have a drink and cook at the same time. Ooh. I'll be the person that I'm the person that cooks for my family. Like I have a huge family. I'm one of 7 on one side. I'm the oldest of 7 on one side, oldest of 3 on another. My parents split when I was a kid, but at my mom's side, a lot of times I'll just roll up with the rig and cook, and I'll smoke ribs, and I'll smoke ribs, and do whatever for the whole family. But I enjoy it, man. And then I'll have a couple drinks and hang out and cook and let everyone else eat, and then eventually I'll make me a plate.
And that's the way I'm too. Yeah. I made it for everybody, and then they're like, Ben, are you going to eat? I'll eat in a minute.
Yeah, eventually.
Because my goal was not for me to eat. My goal was to prepare food for you to see your
if you
reaction.
Enjoy it. See if you enjoy it.
And to me, that's
and it's like, I don't want to praise. If you didn't like it, tell me why you didn't like it. Okay, was it too dry? Was it a bit too savory? Was it a bit too
I had somebody tell me that one time, and I was like, well, get somebody else to make it for you then.
But no, I think it's interesting because and so you being at home with your son, you're just having to cook.
So I started cooking dinner every night, and when my wife would come home, I'd prepare a plate for her. I'd set it aside, because this was the thing my mom used to do for me. When I would work in Hawaii, I would get off work at 9, and sometimes I'd catch the bus or something, or they'd leave the car for me, and I'd come home. I wouldn't get home until sometimes 10 o'clock, and there was always a plate on the stove in foil. Yeah. And it was dinner. Yeah. And I knew every day I came home, I didn't have to worry about, I'm hungry. And so, again, to me, that's
something good too. This wasn't fish sticks and French fries.
No, it wasn't. It was, and so to me, I think that's one of the greatest ways to show love is to prepare something for somebody, and in the way that they like it, and then to watch them enjoy it is like watching somebody look at one of my paintings and go, "Wow, that's amazing."
Yeah, I can extremely relate to that because, like, when I grew up with a single mom most of the time. Of course, I grew up seeing my dad too, but I was living with my mom most of the time, and she did cook quite a bit. But a lot of times it would be shortcut things to. I mean, she had to. She was working as a hairdresser full time and raising me and my brother until she remarried. And so sometimes we had those Totino pizzas and the kid cuisine thing, TV dinners and shit. But then she would cook a lot too, and I can respect it now. But I remember being younger and not wanting to try something, her getting so frustrated with us. She spent all that time to cook a real meal, and then we didn't even want to try it. So now I'm like, holy shit, I'm such an asshole, man, because, like, you know what I mean? And now I'm like, I eat anything. There's only like a select handful of items that I don't enjoy. And so I took a lot of those home cooking recipes that I remember growing up that I liked from my grandparents on both sides. My dad enjoys to cook too, and my mom. They don't cook as healthy as I would like, you know, but cooking healthy is boring, but it doesn't have to be. There's ways to make things. So what I did is when I moved out on my own around 17 years old and got my own place, I started cooking, and I started with Hamburger Helper, you know, and I graduated to enchiladas and stuff like that, you know, whatever. And I started looking at things and trying to figure out how to make stuff in bulk that I could eat on for a couple of days so I didn't have to cook every night. And I started tweaking recipes once I got into the fight stuff and the lifting weight stuff. To where I could do like less gluten, less fat, and still make it taste good. And then I would trip up my dad, and I'd be like, "Hey man, try this," and I'd cook some stuff, and he's like, "Damn, it's good." And I'd be like, "I'd tell him it's healthy." He's like, "Oh man, shit." I was like, So, but that's one of my things is like I love to cook, and I'll splurge and eat something like that's necessarily not great for you every now and then, but I love to find a way to make it somewhat healthy. You know, whether it's using a different type of oil, using a different type of flour base. You know what I mean?
Before we run out of time,
we're good. We're rolling.
Okay, good. I was thinking about, you get to ask people tons of questions. You get to do it. I'm going to be DJ for a moment and ask DJ certain questions. So when you started this, okay, obviously you talked about you had a need to get people to tell their story, to talk about what it is that makes them who they are, and what. In the year and a half that you've done this, what have you learned about people that you had no idea?
Man, that's a really crazy question. Okay. I've learned a few things. I would say the most game-changing thing that I've learned is that every single person is a bit timid to tell their own story because they're a bit worried about how it may be perceived. And what I always feel like I try to do here is like drag it out of them slowly where they're comfortable, and then they go back and listen to it, and they're like, so and so, my friends said they loved it, and they loved it and loved it, and then they feel a little more confident, and that's been something that I've, you know, the first and foremost thing that I realized has been really great is people feel more comfortable after they come on here about talking about themselves in a positive manner. You know, whether it be some things that trials and tribulations they went, you know, through, or, you know, some good things they've been through, but not trying to boast about it. That's been the most, I think, game-changing thing. Aside from that, man, just realizing that I know, and I say a lot of cliche shit on here because we live a lot of hear a lot of cliche statements.
You see it every day on Facebook.
But you don't even, but you don't read into it. So I read into everything now, and these cliche things that I hear said, you know, it's like, don't judge a book by its cover. That's so fucking cliche, but you really can't, man. There's so many layers to people, and once you get to sit down and have a conversation, no matter if it's a different sexual orientation, a different religious belief, different political belief, all that washed out, I don't want to talk about that. I want to sit down and learn who that person is, you know. And I just think I had no idea I would be doing this and having a good time doing it. It's insane to me.
So, of all the people, obviously, present company involved, your favorite guest. Of course. Who have you had that you're like, I want to say you're so glad you had them on your program, but that you got more out of it than you ever thought you would have by listening to, because I've listened to some of the people that you've had, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, just their personal stories and how you, and sometimes I think, and when I see you doing it, I think you're so busy absorbing what they're saying so that you could talk, that you don't get the opportunity to listen to it like we get to listen to it.
And I'm bad about not going back and listening to it because of how I just don't want to critique myself. Yeah. You know, at first I did, but I get better. You know, like don't say as much. Don't say right. Yeah. You know, whatever. Listen to people. You know what? You know, give someone a chance to talk. I'm bad at interrupting. This hence the name of the fucking podcast. But it's like, hey man, if I got something to say, I'm gonna say it real quick. That's really hard. I feel like I swear, every time I do one of these shows, I'm like, that's the best one yet. That's the best one yet. I will tell you this: probably the most moving one for sure is Barbie Thomas. No, she's no relation to me, but she is and I hope she's listening or watching this at some point. She is a double arm amputee. Yeah, since she was you didn't. I
started listening, and I was like,
you got to, dude.
I was like, okay,
you have to. So that was the most emotion, and that wasn't mentally, and that was done. Yeah, that was done via Zoom. But if you have time to appreciate, I'm one of those people that's kind of aggressive with like, you know, kind of motivating people and stuff like that. And if you sit down and listen to that, your problems are absolutely, you don't have any. This woman lives her entire life with her feet. She has no arms. She drives, she works, she cooks, she has kids, she cooks for them. You know, they're grown now. Yeah. I mean, since she was 2 years old, like that one was the most moving to me, I think, and amped me up the most. And anytime everyone's like, oh, I like your show, it's like, go listen to that one too. If you need a boot, or so, if I hear someone crying about some shit, I'm like, go listen to this. Go watch this.
Okay. You know, and I will say this, and that's interesting too, because I actually have, like, on my phone, I have, you know, screenshots of stuff that, like, I'll see somebody painting with their teeth. Yeah. I'll see somebody painting with their feet, and they're making beautiful. And I'm thinking, okay, Ben, what is your problem? Are you just being a little bitch, or are you really having a problem? Because there's a way to overcome everything if your desire to accomplish if your goal is greater than your fear.
Yeah, you got to look past that. So like this. Point in case, this is way bigger than me at this point. Yeah. People like it. They get something out of it. They listen to it. They're subscribing to it. There's a lot of people all over the United States and abroad. It's bigger than me, but I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get hung up on what I think about it. What's the important part here? You're still savoring that drink. I mean, that was
seriously,
really good.
Smell it and see if you smell like coffee. And
man, mine's gone.
You'll still smell it.
Yeah, I still smell it.
You still smell the aroma?
It's got a coffee and a chocolate flavor.
Okay, so I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good, man.
Right.
But that's the Vulcan. The Vulcan one. Yeah. That one. Oh, I don't even know where I was going with that. I was just saying, like, basically is that you have a task at hand. You have to look at the bigger picture. Right. You know, it's not about you. Get over your insecurities and get the shit done. You know what I mean?
And I've been surprised. I've been not shocked because, you know, you could sell ice to an Eskimo, but what I do like is the amount of diversity that you have in the types of guests that you have. Because I remember when we first sat down, we talked about it. You know, Will was talking about, we can talk about how we do different things, how we, you know, our goals and things like that. And you said, well, Brilla, I just really want to talk about, you know, what makes you you. Yeah. And I think because to me, one of my favorite things to do when I was a manager. When I managed golf properties and I had to hire people, I had a question that I would ask people at the end of the interview, and I would tell them, look, I said, this has no effect on your interview. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to, but I have a question for you. And I was like, what is the last book that you read? Okay. Because I could learn a lot about a person by the last book that they read. Because, again, the most valuable thing you have is your time. And this person took time to listen to this or to read it or to something. And the people that I thought would read certain books didn't. Yeah. I had a CPA one time and she's like, oh, I just read this book about something like that. And I was like, oh, really? You know, that's fascinating. And when I was very young, I heard something and it stuck with me since I was young. And it said, the person you're going to be 5 years from now depends on two things: the books you read and the people you associate with. Yeah. And when I first heard that, I told myself, I'm going to flood my brain with as much knowledge as I can about what it is that I want to do, who I want to be. And I'm going to try to hang out with people or try to be around people that are like that. And that's one of the reasons I love that my son is in Dallas. Not because he gets to drive Ferraris, not because, you know, that's I drove Lamborghinis when I was a kid.
That's one reason.
You know, but what I love about it is the fact that he gets the opportunity to see so many different types of people, and he gets the opportunity to relate to them, and he'll drive them home or he'll take them, you know, back to their house or to someplace after they drop off their car. And he has learned, I think, more about how people are different and the same.
I love that you brought that up, and I'm going to interrupt you for a second. I'm sorry, I have to. Yeah. Okay, so all of you that are listening from that small ass town, just like the one I grew up in, or watching, or maybe the same town, you have to get your ass out of there and go meet people. You have to. You cannot sit in that box and judge people based on race, based on sexual orientation, based on political beliefs, anything like that, when you have not experienced the world. The biggest culture shock to me, it wasn't a shock, it was refreshing. And for me to be from someone who's so inside the box, I was in the oil and gas industry for so long, and you only run into one type of individual in that industry. Yeah. Asshole that works hard. You know, that's it.
That's it, yeah.
Every now and then they'll stick a pretty girl in there and try to sell somebody something because, you know, it's just like, you know, sending cheerleaders.
And by pretty girl, you mean female, right?
Yeah. It's like sending cheerleaders to Army base, you know what I mean? What do you expect? So, like, I went to Chicago for a trip. I was helping this publishing company do some ads for a magazine they had in these affluent neighborhoods, and I went to Chicago, and I literally went by myself. This was probably in 2014 or 15, something like that. And I got off the plane, got to the airport, got to the hotel, whatever, and I said, okay, I want to go. I believe I was at O'Hare, so I was a little outside of the city. I wanted to go into the inner city. I was like, I want to go inner city, and I want to experience downtown Chicago. And so it was like a 30-minute Uber ride.
So you never saw National Lampoon's Vacation, then? Yeah. Is what you're saying.
But so I go downtown Chicago, and I'm just like walking around. I'm like, there's so many different types of people, and I'm sure like any big cities like that, Dallas is too. But Dallas is still really broad.
Right.
This is all stacked on top of each other, and I'm walking through there, and I just remember this vividly because when I come home, I was telling everybody, man, I've never been around so many different type of people in one viewpoint. Like if I turn here. There's a gay person, a Chinese person, a black person, a Hispanic person, just so many different types of people melted together and all living together and no divide, no bullshit, And I come back home, and anytime people bring that up, I'm like, man, that was just so vivid to me because I come from such a small concentrated area, and there may be like one type of those individuals mixed in our crowd, but these people everywhere, and it doesn't even matter anymore. And so the fact that you said that's important because that's going to give him what he needs. And he's getting it way earlier than I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and it is. And what I like about it, too, is we've had the opportunity. My art has actually gotten us the opportunity to be part of so many wonderful things with Ferrari and the people in it. And we've made such wonderful friends and great acquaintances. And we have a very good friend of ours, Wilfredo, who has a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, and a Nissan GTR. And he let us take the GTR down to Austin with him, and we had such an amazing time. And we have friends like the Shrees who they have Bugattis and all these things. But if you met them, you would forget that the Bugattis are here. You would forget that the Lamborghinis are here because having the conversation with this individual is so much more stimulating mentally than that car ever could be.
These are type of people that are buying those vehicles, appreciating them for what they are, not to use them to flaunt. I'm assuming, knowing your personality.
I have a very good. John Taylor. Every time he comes to a car event, he's wearing cargo shorts and sandals, and he's got a LaFerrari. Yeah. But they're wonderful people, and what I love about my son being around all those people is, first of all, I want him to see that they're not really different than him.
Exactly.
They just had the opportunity to take advantage of something, and they grew it. They weren't just born into it. And then also that he will learn. What I love him telling me about is when he says, Dad, he goes, I took somebody home, and we were going back through these roads, and there was all these trees and everything, and all of a sudden we came across this gigantic gate. We went through the gate, and then we went down this thing, and there was a garage that opened up that had every model of this. He goes, and do you know how come I know he was rich? And I'm like, because the car? He goes, no. He goes, because I never even heard of his name.
Yeah.
I had no idea who he was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're understanding what true wealth is.
Yeah.
It's not that person. It's not the Kardashians. It's not, the people that you see every day. It's the people who have done things that you would not have no idea that they're that kind of person because they don't flaunt it. Why? Because they don't need to. Yeah. Because they, like you said, they bought the Bugatti, they bought that because they enjoy it.
Yeah. They enjoy it, and they enjoy it for the machine, not for the flaunt. It's a fine-tuned, amazing fucking machine. Like, it just is.
Yeah, I know. And it's funny, this guy, Shmee150, I think is his name, but he's a YouTube guy, and he was in Dallas when Mayor took a delivery of one of his brand new Lamborghini Aventador SVJs. Oh my God, it's absolutely gorgeous. And when you see Mayor in that video, and he's like, beautiful car, he's like, oh, thank you very much. That's how he is. Mm-hmm. That's how his family. They are the most humble people that you'll ever meet. They're people who were smart. His dad started out as a butcher in South Africa, and his dad's supposed to be writing a book, I believe. So Mayor and Pavan, tell your dad to write his book. But when you listen to his story, you're drawn to his energy, and you understand. Okay, now I see he doesn't have a special. He doesn't have a special magic ball that tells him make the. He has something about him that says, "I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to settle for less than I want." You know, and I thought he was like 30 years older than me. He's like 10 years older than me, and I'm like, oh my god, you know. And
so wise.
It's so wise. But so he's a wonderful person. And what I love is that my son has the opportunity to spend time with those types of people.
Yeah, there's something to be said, and I've noticed it a lot since just because I'm in the business of working with multiple businesses, so I get to meet different types of people every single day, just like you do. And there's something to be said about being able to engulf yourself into those areas and basically learning from these people, you know. All right, so this is going to be all right. This is red eye. All right. So this is red eye Louis Whiskeyla, rye whiskey and tequila. Okay, it sounds horrible. It probably is, but I had to get it because it is St. Patrick's Day, and I wanted to give.
And at least you're wearing green. I got no green, but that's okay.
It's okay, man. I wanted to give the Irish a little bit of credit today.
That is a cool logo, though.
It is cool. That stood out to me first. I was like, what kind of tequila is that? And I read it, and I was like, and I passed it. I'm not going to lie. I passed it up, kept shopping, come back to it. I was like, this would be something to end it on.
And, that's one of the things I love about the liquor. Oh, wow, that's dark. That was like a bad urine sample. It's like, you got a urinary tract infection, son. But when I go down those, like the aisles in those, it's like Toys R Us for an adult.
It really was. I was like, I believe I went to Specs in Dallas or Fort Worth, and man, I couldn't make my mind up, and I was like, well, there was a few things I was looking for they didn't have, but anyways.
Oof. Whoa.
I mean, it's not horrible. It kind of has a sweet smell.
That's what I'm saying. It's really it's a strong sweet smell, which is one thing. But one thing I was saying is that, like, over there, I was asking a guy if he had a certain type because I had read something about it. He goes, man, we have pallets and pallets and pallets of tequila at the customs just waiting for a distributor. Yeah. Because a lot of people make these tequilas, but nobody's going to distribute them. So you have tons and tons of different things. So when you go down there, you go, okay, this tequila is this tequila is that. It's very, it's like trying to pick a car sometimes, Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, which one, well, what do you want? What's your, thing? But I'm sure there's a bunch of great flavors out there that nobody's discovered yet because nobody's picking them up because the rock isn't behind it because,
no shit, dude. And his is good, but that right there, that Vulcan, oh my God, man, that is amazing. Like, I'll plug that all day long.
Let's try this.
Let's do it.
Cheers. Oof. That's fun.
Look at the Irish. Oh, man, it's bad. I don't even know what you should mix that with.
I think all my muscles in my neck just tightened up.
I don't even know what you should mix that with. It's not horrible, but it's bad compared to the past three.
It has I don't want to say it in a weird way, but it has conflicting flavors.
Yeah, it does. It hits you hard at first and then it eases off at the end.
Yeah, it's got a nice little thing. It's got an after flavor that's and again, now if this was the first one we drank, we might have been like, oh, wow, that's a really neat flavor.
Yeah, but we drank it behind that great stuff.
I'm just keep going back to this.
I gotta finish it, man. Come on, man.
No, it is very good. I'm like, but what's funny is if I go back and I taste this,
I'm just gonna take it to the dome.
This makes me a good. I got a designated driver, so I'm good. My wife's going to get me.
Oh man, It bites at first. I don't know. A lot of that stuff hurts all the way. That one bites at first and then eases off.
There's a flavor there. It's almost like a licorice. I think it's a yeast flavor. It's a bready kind of flavor in there. It might be the whiskey or something like that.
Damn corn in that whiskey, man.
Wow. Yes. It's like a bag of popcorn.
I want to talk about something real quick. We're talking about food. Let's go back to food real quick because we didn't talk about it enough. So I remember you hearing the other day you were advocating corn tortillas and enchiladas. Yes. Oh. I love that you're so authentic when it comes to Mexican, Hispanic food because I've never been to Mexico. I plan on doing that in the next year, hopefully. Mm-hmm. But I love Mexican food. Mm-hmm. Love it. And not Tex-Mex, authentic Mexican. Right. But one thing that I do enjoy is that a lot of authentic Mexican doesn't use, or Hispanic, however you want to refer to it, doesn't use a shitload of salt. Mm-hmm. You know, it's more about the spices and blending things together. And then what we've done in the States is just dumbed it down with putting down fajita mix on shit and throwing it in there and calling it Mexican food. Yeah. And the people that put flour tortillas and damn enchiladas, man.
I couldn't.
I want some enchiladas made with flour tortillas, please.
I couldn't handle it because I'd seen something, and my beautiful daughter, she makes me will make me some enchilada dishes, and she uses like a flour tortilla because it's what the recipe calls for. And I will say, yes, flour tortillas are easier to work with than corn tortillas, especially because they're so small.
But hey, like you said, it's an art form. You should know how to do it right.
The flavor, oh man, I'll make like an enchilada, a green enchilada thing. And my wife bought me some. I love Hatch chili. I like a red. I like a green. I have a 40-pound bag of dried red chili, and I'll take it and I'll husk it. I'll take all the seeds out. I'll boil it, and I got to do this when nobody's home because it's like Iraq.
It's gonna load up the hood.
It's like wow, you're coughing and bleeding out of your eyeballs, and then I'll
it's a good purge.
I'll take it and I'll freeze some of it, and I'll use it for my red enchiladas. And I love that heat. And again, most of the time, it's not so much that I'm excited about having red enchiladas with egg on top. It's because when I have those red enchiladas with an egg on top, it takes me back to my grandmother's house. And the flavor, if it was just any other kind of chili, it'd be like, okay, this is just some tortillas with a red sauce on top of it. No, when I eat that, that's when I know
you're not getting it out of a fucking bottle, man. Yeah. And I understand everyone lives a fast-paced life, but like, here's my thing: like during COVID, especially the first part of the lockdown for the first 2 months, I started cooking a lot because I was I go out of my mind when I don't have anything to do. You're the same way, and so here recently, and we had the little snowstorm and. Texas, Louisiana, everything was shut down. We couldn't do shit. We couldn't even drive hardly. I cooked a lot during that time too, and I love to cook, but being by myself a lot, I don't get a chance to cook unless it's for an event or a family get together or something like that. But doing those things is just like, even if you just take 1 day out of the week just to sit down and prepare a meal like properly, and everyone's like, these people are like, I can't cook. I'm like, dude, it's not rocket science. Yeah. You literally, these are things you can watch YouTube and learn. This is not like trying to fix a printer or a car watching YouTube, which some people can.
But my wife did this keto thing a while back. I think it's Premier Protein or some Pure Protein stuff. It was worked really well for her, and like all our meals had to be a specific thing. So I'm like, okay, if that's how they have to be, then I will buy the ingredients for that, and I will make it like that. And what's interesting is that when I make it for her, obviously I want to eat it too, and it was very healthy for me too. So a byproduct of it was like, and I was cooking this amazing dishes that were like, these are great, and I'm like, this is healthy? Well, it's healthier than
even you cooking the legit enchiladas versus the stuff out of a can and pre-mix and all the seasoning is still healthier, in my opinion, because you're using real peppers, using real spice. Poblanos, they're not talked about enough. I love them.
They're good. I like that. And the poblano, and that's a lot of people think. Now, a Hatch green chili is a breed of poblano, but Hatch chilies only grow in one part of America and the U.S., and that's Hatch, New Mexico. Okay. And in order for something to be called Hatch chili, just like tequila, it's got to come from a specific place. So sometimes I'll have some a chili relleno, and they're like, okay, well, it says poblano. I'm like, okay. What kind is it? Is it a Hatch green chili poblano, or is it just a green chili, an Anaheim poblano? And they're like, oh, it says, okay, well, there is a different flavor. There's a different smokiness. There's a different.
But I love that flavor. It's just not used a lot, especially. I mean, I'm sure it is closer to Mexico.
Well, what's funny is I've been to Mexico many times, and I didn't like the food. I mean, I liked the food that I would eat with my family. Yeah. But I didn't like the food when we go out and we'd have like some tacos. I'm like, this is not a taco. What the hell is it?
Do you think it's because for tourists and stuff like that?
I think for a lot of it was the tourism, because they're like, okay, we make the drink strong, we make the food cheap. And that's how a lot of places here do it. The drink strong and the food cheap, but. There's a lot of it is, it's very just like these. It's simple ingredients. It's just making sure. And my wife, what's funny is, my wife says you don't use enough salt when she cooks. I always like when I make her something. I always give her the salt and pepper too. I'm like, I know I didn't put enough salt and pepper in there for you. So
I don't use much of that stuff, but there is something to if you haven't, you were talking about Wagyu earlier. If you have a good red meat, you don't need no other seasonings but a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. That is it.
Don't kill it. Don't overpower. It's got its flavor. You just basically you're enhancing it by doing these little things. You don't, if you have to pour a bunch of stuff on it, it was bad meat. And
hey, bro, that's life, isn't it? Though
it is.
I mean, I don't mean to get too deep, but think about it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, if you can't enjoy it for what it is and try to cover it up with something else, and initially that bad's still going to seep out.
And you know what's funny is I like that again about your guests. In the very beginning, they're one person. I won't say they're two different people, but they are the person that they want people to see in the very beginning of the episode, and by the time at the end of the episode, they're who they really are.
Yeah.
And I like that about that.
But had we not have long enough time to drag that out of them, then you wouldn't get that. You know what I mean?
But I will say this about you, DJ. You are the same person I met, 3 years ago? We met about 3 years ago when we became friends?
When did you start?
Yeah, it was 3 years. Over 3 years ago.
17. Yeah. 17.
You're the same guy from then as you are today. And you've actually gotten smarter, and when I say smarter, you've gotten slower.
Yep.
Not slower mentally, but you take your time when you know, it's not a race.
That.
Everything's not a race. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take my time here. We're going to make sure we get what we want. We're not just going to go from, and that's one thing I see a lot of people do. They're like, they just want to do something so they can finish it. They just want to get like from here to here, and they never think about.
I'm in love with the fucking process, bro.
Yeah,
I'm in love with the process, and I'm so aware. And people are like, why are you like you are? I'm like, I'm aware as fuck, dude. And they're like, what is that? What do you mean, man? You're being boastful. You're being boastful, or like you're being like big headed or conceited. I'm like, no, fuck that. I don't think I'm better than anyone else, but I can tell you this. I'm usually the most aware person in the room. I pay attention to everything. Why? Because why not? If I'm going to spend my time doing something, put every bit of energy into it I can, you know? I mean, like...
And you're an artist. This right here, what you do, this is a product of this is an art.
Yeah, dude, but aren't we all in some form? You know what I mean?
We are, but I don't think we recognize it in the fact that we take pride in it.
Yeah.
Because now you have what's called a tortured artist, and I've seen a few of them. I've been a tortured artist, I guess myself every now and then too, because you're trying to express externally how you feel internally,
right?
And it's very difficult. But it's almost like everything I create is crap. Well, why are you creating it? Because this is how I feel. Okay, well then it's not crap because it's truth. And some more.
I mean, might as well have one more. Might as well end it on a good note, not a bad one.
But yeah, let's end it on a good note. But art is, and I always say all art's in the eye of the beholder. Well, a lot of it is understanding why the artist did that. Now, some artists do things because they can sell it. It's like, I can be.
Yeah.
And some artists do it because nobody listens to them. They felt that alone or abandoned, and they feel that this is how they can tell people who they are by doing certain things. And then some people just do it because they see something in their head and they want to get it out. But I love all kinds of different art. When I became a painter, I wanted to be the guy that made a painting that looked like a photograph, and somebody look at it and go, "Oh, that's a picture." No, it's a painting.
You redid a mural in a church.
I painted a mural in a church.
You painted one. That was from scratch.
That was from scratch.
And how big was that? It was big.
That was like 4 feet high and 8 feet wide or something like that.
It was large.
That was very big. And what's funny is that kind of started me painting again. And another thing too is I hate getting paid for my work. I know it's a horrible thing to say. I hate getting paid for it because to me it puts a level of pressure on me that somebody's giving me something. I'm producing something for somebody because they're paying me to do it.
Right. I get it.
That's why I like making a painting, and then if somebody wants to buy it, that's something else.
Yeah, I get it.
I don't do it because somebody wants to buy it. But then I have people say, "Hey, can you do this for me?" And I'm like, "You know what? I can." And I've only taken like 2 or 3 commissions. I've had a lot of people ask me to do stuff, but I've only taken 2 or 3 commissions because I've either really loved the person who asked me to do it, knew that they already had pieces of my work and they just wanted something in addition to it, or because I felt that what this person wanted, I could give them what they wanted, and I could do it in a way that made them happy and they appreciated it because I'm the one that did it. Not because I got online and found an artist who can make me like you guys. I went on Amazon. I found some company that'll make me a logo.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is like with our industry is like it's relationship based business, man. It just is like that's the best. It's so good. That's some good stuff right there.
Yeah.
The best. I mean, the best business is the one that means something. You know what I mean? No matter what the service is, I've had most meaningful, crosstalk and relationship building over stuff that did not make me any money, versus I've made a lot of money off stuff that I could care less about. And it's not but that's what I appreciate about you is you're cut from the blue collar cloth. You know what I mean? But you appreciate the finer things. not to flaunt, but just like
I understand the value of it,
right, and that's me too, man. I don't run around and try to dress expensive and all that, but when the time comes, if I want to pay for a very expensive meal from a very great place like Perry's, it's worth that money because they're taking the time. They're not they haven't copy and pasted the recipe,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and in fact, the first time my son and I had A5 Wagyu was at Perry's in Austin when we went down there. And it was so funny. We parked the 3 cars right in front. We had the Ferrari, the Lamborghini, and the GTR, and we were having dinner. And then this guy brought over these shots of Don Julio, like 1842.
I'm not a big fan of Don Julio.
Well, I'm not a big fan either. But this is like the big brown bottle.
That's the good stuff.
This is a big brown bottle, right?
You.
And the guy says, a gentleman wanted to buy a shot for the people that have the cars out front. One guy owned them. But we're all sitting at the table, and so he bought 3 shots for each of us driving the car. And I was like,
$100 for the shots.
Yeah, and I was like, that's really neat. And we don't even know who the guy was, but the fact of the matter is, he appreciated that
your taste.
The taste of things. I'm going to buy a person drink because you know what? They understand.
There's a difference between rolling up in one of those things and getting your little mistress out and just going out because you're going there for status quo. And when there is another difference where you made the trip down there and y'all drove together and you had a good time, you stopped at places and ate and you got there and you knew the end destination. When you all got there, you're going to enjoy something great. There's something to be said about that. It's just different. Well, I guess we can wrap this thing up.
I guess we can because we're going to start talking bad stuff here in a minute.
Drinking, we're going to start crying or offending someone.
I will say, no, this was worth saving. If I'd have had this beforehand, I would have it would be an empty bottle because that is amazing. But DJ, I am so proud of you, man. You have no idea how proud I am. Thanks, and bro. Thank you so much for having me on. I watch your show and I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And
I had to bring the Pioneer back on, and I was just thinking, I don't even know what we were talking. We were talking about something, and I just said, well, let's just do this. Let's just make this a little segment every now and then. We'll implement this. Yeah. So when we're going to do the next one, man?
You know what? You tell me when, and if you can't make it, I'll be the one to come and talk to somebody about tequila. Okay? I'll be happy to sit in for you on the Tequila Talk.
Man, so anything you want to end with? You got anything you want to drop?
You know what, everybody? Just think about who you are as a person. Don't let anybody influence you. I've seen so many people that have an opinion about something. Not that it's a bad opinion, but it's what they believe because of who they are, and there's not really any reason to go against that. And I've seen a lot of people change who they are in order to become somebody they're not, in order to impress people that don't really give a shit.
Yep.
And I think if any of us just kind of at one point say, you know what? No. At some point in time, if we all just say, no, not anymore. Nope, we're done. We've had enough of this. I think we'll be better because then we're honest with each other. Because a lot of stuff that's happening today is dishonesty.
Yeah, of course.
We're saying, because I'm saying to somebody, oh yeah, no, that's horrible. And maybe I'm thinking, you know what? It's not that bad because But if you go against it, that's something else. But not that that's something to end on. But I think honestly, the best thing to end on is that drink good tequila with people that you like, that you enjoy spending time with. And the rest will work itself out.
We can close it out right there, bro.
All right, brother.
Love you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Everyone, please subscribe to the podcast.